Okay, and I want to go a little bit into Jim Jones and the People's Temple. And one of the things I think about when it comes to Jim Jones and the People's Temple, one of the things that crossed my mind is all the people who played a role in the Jonestown. Like Timothy Stone is an attorney in San Francisco. He was considered a prominent attorney. And Timothy Stone worked in LA, I think, on the lewd conduct case of Jim Jones. Jim Jones' real name was James Warren Jones, and the lewd conduct was a body double. It wasn't the real James Warren Jones, but a body double was attempting to solicit an undercover cop at the Westlake Theater. Okay, right there in the Pico Union area of LA, and Jim Jones of the People's Temple got out of, they dismissed the case and they sealed it up. But the reason why they didn't want anybody to see it is because it was the body double. It wasn't actual Jim Jones. And James Warren Jones got away from Jonestown. I did a whole special with multiple researchers, psychics, all sorts of people on it. And I came to the conclusion that not only was Jim Jones had a body double, and him and his body double, there was one real Jim Jones and a body double in the 60s. They took the real Jim Jones and his body double out of Jonestown like 12 hours before the massacre happened, and they had two body doubles left, one in the pavilion with a fake prosthetic mask and another body double. And so the People's Temple is a really interesting subject. Then Richard Dwyer, who is the chief CIA chief station, the chief CIA officer, station chief in the area of Georgetown, he had a body double at Port Kaituma during the massacre, and they threatened Congressman Leo Ryan and made him think somebody was trying to kill him. Got him to the made him leave Jonestown, go to the airport. They killed him. But what about all the children in Jonestown? What about John John? Little John John. I don't believe little John John died in Jonestown. And I don't believe a lot of these other children died in Jonestown. And there might be children out there who remember what happened. They're older now and they might remember what happened. There may have been children who were raised by the actual real Jim Jones or the body double after all this was over with. Do they remember? Can they remember what happened? See, there's and like Leslie Wagner Wilson in her book Slavery of Faith, she talked about the gold in Jonestown, being threatened about the gold. The gold in Jonestown had been from the mining company with the Blakey family, and that was the connection to Frank Turple, who was supplying the guns for Jonestown. And the Blakey family had been mining gold there, and the other families, because of the British colony. The British were there up until 1966. Then they were thrown out of Guyana. You have the occupation of the Nazis from World War II that were in Jonestown. You had everything going on down there. And there was and going back to Leslie Wagner Wilson, her son Jakari is in prison for life because of the stress he went through, traumatic events he suffered growing up. A lot of the children that were in Jonestown had problems later on. And a lot of people have died. One survivor got killed in Detroit. People were looking back at Jonestown. They knew that wasn't Jim Jones. So, I did a lot of research on this. And, going back to the Jonestown thing, these people sat there for years on the news, these people sat for years talking about Jim Jones and how Jim Jones died, knowing damn well that wasn't the real Jim Jones in the pavilion. And me, Jameel Rawls, I came along and did my research on it. I thought the whole thing was pathetic. That a grown man walked away out of Jonestown, and he didn't do it by himself. James Warren Jones did not do that by himself. This was all put together, and his accomplices sat there and watched this go through and walked away and talked about it on the news forever. For years, they sat there and talked about Jim Jones and the People's Temple, knowing that was not the real Jim Jones that died. How pathetic is that? And so, And the people who were a part of it, I'm sure, are terrified to talk about it, you know. And I don't, and I don't see why all those people, you know, it was I'm gonna tell you what happened. It was a mind control experiment with a bunch of other things going on. And the killing the congressman created a twin operation so they can go down there and get the gold. But at the same time, they wanted to kill all the people down there. They were afraid of those people getting away and telling their stories of what they had seen down there, how they were locked in boxes with snakes, how Jim Jones would have people taken out into the middle of the night and electrocuted and tortured, how they had beat children, how they were putting drugs in everybody's food, how there was murders down there, how the People's Temple was connected to political assassinations all over Latin America. They had come up to North America and do assassinations, come back. How the Communist Party was running drugs out of Miami to Georgetown, and they were all in the FBI. How Jim Jones, I think Jim Jones's body double might have been an FBI informant. You know, Tim Probst was an FBI informant. So I got a lot of questions about People's Temple, and I got years of research into it. And the federal government, the FBI, covered the whole thing up. Let a man murder a bunch of children and walk away, and they sat there and covered the whole damn thing up. And I'm not blaming Jim Jones for all of it. He definitely played a role in it, but there was a lot of other people that played a role in it too. So